Welcome to the Seminário School Sports in Europe. This event is a partnership between the Women's Source and the Education Regional Secretary, the European Physical Education Association, and the Physical Education Portuguese Society.
Bom dia a todos. Deixem-me começar por dirigir-vos a todos uma palavra em português, embora saiba que a língua oficial deste seminário é o inglês, mas estando na nossa terra, estando na nossa Madeira, não podia deixar de dirigir-vos estas primeiras palavras em português, para desejar um bom trabalho e dizer-vos quanto me congratulo de que estejais aqui todos empenhados em volta deste tema do desporto escolar. Dito isto, vou dizer o mesmo em inglês. Okay? So, good morning, everybody. I've just told them a few words in Portuguese, but I promised that I would repeat them in English for your benefit. I would like to address Mr. Claude Scheuer, and Mr. Nuno Ferro, and tell you how grateful we are that you have decided to hold your meetings in Madeira this year, and being the topic of your meetings, the sports at school, we thought it was very useful that we gathered a few other people to talk about this subject. That's because we take into account that sports at school is a very important subject in the process of development of all the students. And being part of education, we think it is very important in development of the education process too. Our constitution in Portugal states that everyone has the right to education, to exceed the scheme of education and to be successful in that assessment of education. And we think education has a number of dimensions which which are not only the theoretical part of teaching contents. It is a little bit more. We know that education has to do with arts, education has to do with sports. And therefore, we dare to say that everyone is entitled to the right to play sports at school. That's why we think that sports should and must be included in the Portuguese educational curricula. That's effectively what happens here in Madeira. And more, we think that sports should be a benefit for every student, ever since the first grade until the 12th grade. That's the part of the education we are in charge here in Madeira. Also at university, but that's not our responsibility. Being so, we try, and I think we have succeeded along the years, to have one system that operates in the school front that includes a competition in each school, but also a competition between the schools, and also because we think this is important for the society. It is important that everyone knows what happens in our schools. We also have one certain time of the year when we make what we call the Festa do Desporto. It's a special time when sports are, the external competition takes place, and we hold a special festivity at the beginning of these competitions. It has just happened at the end of the last month, And so now is the right time to think about what happened and what went well, what we think was right, and also what we think should be improved for the next editions. That's why your help here is very important. We know this is the way we face the sports or school problem in Madeira. We know that there are some differences towards what happens in the mainland Portugal when compared to what we do here in Madeira. We also know that this problem is approached in different ways in other countries, and that's why we are so curious to know what happens in your countries, in your different countries, so that we can compare and see what we can improve by following your example. Also, we know that, so we thank you in advance for the contributions that we know that you are about to give us here, and we are willing to learn the benefits that you can bring us by showing us your the example of what happens in your countries. So thank you in advance. We also know that this problem should be treated in such a way that allows us to make some thought, some scientific thought. I know particularly that Professor Hélder Lopes has invested a lot in this investigation, and he has a great contribution to help us think all the approaches that can be made to the phenomena of the sports at school. So thank you, Professor Lopes, for being here, and I must say, under a short notice, a very short notice. Also thank Catarina, whom I think will be helping you with the language. And I hope that putting all this together will be an opportunity for us all to learn and to grow and to get to know other views about sports at school. And I think it will be possible for us to take profit and improve our system for the coming years. So I wish you all a good journey of work. I thank everyone who is going to be helping us with conducting this debate, and I wish you a good work. Thank you.
Dear Regional Secretary, dear Regional Directors, dear Physical Education teachers and colleagues. It's a great honor for UPA, the European Physical Education Association, to be here on Madeira and to have had yesterday a very fruitful board meeting during the day, also in this nice school, and thank you also for being part of this seminar. Thank you for the words, dear Regional Secretary. You highlighted the importance of physical education and school sports, and actually that is what is the main topic of our European Association. UPA, I'm just going to tell you some things about UPA and about our mission and the things that we are doing in Europe. Our association was founded in 1991 in Brussels, and in the same year we made a declaration, the so-called Declaration of Madrid, where we highlight the importance of physical education, where we have different articles that we find that is important and that we stand for. And all of this is about our main slogan that there is no education without physical education. So this is our mission. And we are actually the umbrella organization of all the national PE associations in Europe. So we are a really powerful lobby of, yes, I would say more than 200,000 members in more than 30 countries. And like this, we try to cooperate with partners on the European level to advocate for physical education. Partners like the International Council of Sports Science and Physical Education, or the FIEP, la Fédération Internationale de l'Éducation Physique, or HEPA, Health Enhancing Physical Activity. I'm just going through some main topics of our work in order that you get some kind of a feeling what we are doing to reach our objectives, which are to promote physical education. We have good contacts to European and national politicians, the European Union Commission, and also the Council of Europe, which you can see by the fact that we are member in expert groups of the European Commission, for example, about health enhancing physical activity, and we are also member in the consultative committee of the enlarged partial agreement on sports of the Council of Europe. We, as PE teachers, are also trying to conduct some research that is in benefit of our association and our members. So, for example, we some years ago we conducted a research about physical well-educated child, and at the moment we are working on together with our Portuguese colleagues that are at the moment, let's say, the leaders in this. We plan a kind of an observatory for physical education in Europe, in order that we have an overview of what is happening and to identify where we have problems and to work on this, but also to identify examples of good practice, because I think that all over Europe we have many good examples of good practice, but we have to share them to each other. Another point is that we organize seminars, or that we are partners in organization of seminars, like we have it also today. Another very important event that we had was in April, where we had a seminar about quality in physical education at the UNESCO headquarters in Paris, and we organized this there together with our colleagues from France. And this was an event that was very well seen by physical education partners in Europe, but also by the political part. So it was a really good example for advocating. Then, as you know, there exist many possibilities to promote projects all over Europe that are funded by the European Commission, for example. You know about normally the Erasmus Plus program, and we try also to get in those programs to get fundings to put in practice projects. And at the moment, we are involved in 3 projects. One is about pro-safe sport for young athletes. The other is about games of the past, sports for today. On the first view, you could maybe say that this is not exactly about physical education, but what we are doing, we try to get in those projects as a partner in order that we can highlight the importance of the educational aspect of those projects. So if there would no one be inside to have a view on the educational aspect, so then it would maybe go in a wrong direction from our point of view. And another point is that we work also on a project together with the Pestalozzi program of the Council of Europe, where there will be put in place training for teacher trainers about physical education and sport for democracy and human rights. This will take place in October of this year, and this will be a program that lasts for several months. So you can see that we do a lot of activities, and I want here also use the opportunity to thank my colleagues in the board of UPA, which come from all over Europe. As myself from Luxembourg, then we have members in the board from Portugal, Marcos Onofre, who is vice president since several years. We have members of Switzerland, Germany, Sweden, Italy, Croatia, Czech Republic, France, and Finland. So I hope you got some kind of an overview of our activities. At the end, I was just want again to highlight what is our slogan. There is no education without physical education. That's what we stand for. That's what we work on it. And it's very important to have also the support of the politics, of authorities, and therefore at the end I want also to thank again the Human Resources and Education Regional Secretary of the Regional Government of Madeira for the support that they give for physical education and school sports. And I hope that we will have a very interesting morning and exchange of information. Thank you very much.
Good morning. Regional Secretary of Education, I would like to start by thanking you for your invitation to this seminar. I would also like to greet the President of European Physical Education Association, the Regional Director of Education, and the Regional Director of Youth Sport, as well as all the guests and audience. In my brief communication, School of Today, Europe of Tomorrow, I defend the need for a change in the pedagogical process and present a way to implement it. So that this can be better understood, I have requested my colleague Catarina Barros to perform this presentation in English. Aproveitando a deixa do Sr. Secretário, que disse algumas palavras em inglês, portanto em inglês e outras em português, eu queria que compreendessem que para que a mensagem passasse de uma forma mais breve, acho que não se deviam focalizar na minha pronúncia ou em alguns erros que desse em inglês, mas sim na mensagem queria estar e, portanto, preferi uma pessoa que está a finalizar agora, portanto, o seu doutoramento, que vai entregar agora e que trabalha também no tema, e pedi que ela apresentasse por mim. Portanto, queria que compreendessem que aquilo que é fundamental. Queria também dar um abraço ao meu colega e amigo Marco Sonofre, que fomos colegas de curso, e, portanto, aproveitar também esta oportunidade. Eu passava já a palavra à professora Catarina e depois podemos falar mais no final.
Good morning and greetings to everyone and a warm welcome to our visitors. Our presentation is entitled Schools of Today, Europe of Tomorrow. A rupture is required. Every indicator we have points in this direction. Ruptures are not local. It involves a globality and a paradigm, as Kuhn shows. We will address the following points. We will start by the framework, then we will present a possible solution, and finish with our concluding remarks. Starting by the framework. A paradigm shift is needed. A rupture following Kuhn's ideas. Some examples of reference works are Culture and Change from Harvard Business Review, The Coming Boom from Herman Kahn, and The Birth of Plenty by William Bernstein. But changing logic is not achieved by guidelines or orders. Conditions are needed so that a rupture may take place. So we need a change. We have to shift from a conceptual frame that is static, rigid, centralized, and reproductive to a conceptual frame that is dynamic, flexible, decentralized, and productive. However, just speaking of change cannot be an excuse to not actually change it. A change is also needed in the process of education. Again, a shift from a school of the industrial age with separated disciplines, rigid schedules, massified programs that evaluates reproduction, has classrooms, and that uses textbooks, to a school with integrative disciplines, custom-built schedules, individualized programs, specific evaluation of the work performed, with workrooms, and that uses the world of knowledge or the internet, among others. The process of education, still, but school, we see, hasn't changed, even though the world has.
from a world with needs to a world where abundance exists. So the process of education has to shift from a school that is centered in the teachers and the teaching programs that only transmits, limits research, initiative, autonomy, creativity, and critical sense, that is dogmatic and deterministic, to a school that develops each one's capabilities and potential, that masters methodologies and instruments, and promotes research, initiative, autonomy, creativity, and critical sense. A school that is open and non-deterministic. Concerning the process of science, we have reference authors that left a mark, such as Einstein with his triple relation phenomenon-signal observer, Popper with conjecture refutation, Kuhn with his paradigm shifts, and Hacking with the importance of instruments. Hence, we need to go from an education and a science that are poor and live on charity to a fruitful knowledge generator of abundance. Our context, Madeira Island. Our island is a variety of cultures, climates, contexts like the mountain and the sea and the proximity between them. It has special conditions to be a laboratory for longitudinal studies that develops teaching experiences, market studies, or marketing studies, among others. From all the solutions found, they all have to avoid creating too many regulations and legislation, complicating, destroying the traditional, and destroying quality. It is necessary to anticipate change, to be simple but not simpleton, to optimize the existing resources, to implement the most interesting projects, and have a creative destruction by Schumpeter. The solutions have to enable a fruitful and fruitful knowledge, be pragmatic and operating, encouraging production, motivating creativity, stimulating autonomy, and requesting participation of us all. But naturally, there will be some resistances, such as people like the teachers, students, and parents, or institutions such as schools, governments, and unions, and both cultural and social resistances, as we see plenty of resistances. We now present a solution that we believe it's a viable one. An academy, where the knowledge is treated as a sport. It is a new strategy of education and training, a long-term research project that can be experimented or performed in 2 or 3 schools. The goal is to create spaces of collaboration and projects, to introduce innovative products in the market, such as games, films, software, songs, among others. It responds to people's abilities, optimizes efforts, and allows expression and personal fulfillment. An academy that creates work teams between teachers and students, that provides the necessary infrastructures, that generates wealth, personal fulfillment, entrepreneurship, and innovation, integrates all subject areas in a global school, and calls the balance of a lifetime and develops society synergies. The structures. This academy creates task forces that integrates all subject areas. Its evaluation is focused on the output. And the funding, after the initial phase, it has to generate its own profits. Capital gains are then distributed among the intervenients. For this to happen, We have to see school sport and imagine school sport to be restructured and avoid configuring school sport as a traditional school, with strict schedules and levels and competitions that reproduce the formal sport, with transmission and reproduction of stereotypes and pre-established standards, and with the appreciation almost exclusively of the motor outputs. On the contrary, in the academy, school sport, as well as in the other disciplines, promotes understanding of the features of sporting activities, allows the integration of students with different motivations and performance outcomes, and values individual potential and generates integration. For our concluding remarks, we state that it is not enough just to make adjustments, to introduce new content, new teaching programs, or use technology, make some decrees and regulations. It is necessary to have a change in the conceptual frame. A school where it is integrated in the community and that enables individuals to explore their own limits. What we are presenting and proposing here offers a pragmatic feature to an educational system that has detached itself from the real world and from the world that exists nowadays. We believe that it's possible, without conflicts and big spending and capable of acquiring profits, to generate a dynamic that step by step will alter education and let people express and evolve. Europe is a set of many countries, nations, and cultures. You cannot declare it to be this or to be that. It will be what people want or achieve it to be. That is how you create an identity. If we want a region, a country, and a different Europe, we have to have a different school. Europeans want new responses. They have been showing it for quite some time. But are we or are we not capable of generating those responses? And lastly, but not least, a question remains. Do we want to? Thank you very much for your attention.